We're live.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way at Midday Show. I am Renee Main and I'm excited to be here with this human because it's been a while and it's always such a joy to hang out with Andrew. He is here to bring the heart back to presenting. He's here to remind us that all the magic happens between the words. He's the demonstration of what it takes to become world class. He isn't afraid to do things differently. He is a modern day system disruptor. He's an author, TV presenter, actor, speaker, award winning producer with an inner child that is a rebel. He treats every single individual like they are their own unique piece of art, and he honors the art of authenticity. He thinks big, he devotes big, and he dreams big. Welcome to the show, Andrew Eggelton.
It's really, you can tell by my smile, it's really nice to be here and nice to be. Thanks for asking me to come and join you. It's a pleasure, and I love my intro. Thank you. You made that sound really good.
I know, I made you sound really good. How
I
did I
sounded
manage to do that?
smart, like rebellious. I love it. I love it.
It was so, I must say, last week when I was writing your intro, like I think I actually wrote it in about 2 seconds because it was just so easy just to connect in with you. And even though it's been a while, it's just nice to be here with you, Egg. And I can feel myself getting emotional. Oh,
Mm.
you know, one of the first things, actually, I think no, it wasn't the first thing. But anyway, when we first met, something that just captured my attention was you said, I am perfectly flawed.
Mm.
And that was a few years ago. And your body of work has really taken on a life of its own since then. But I really feel like that's still the crux of what you're really embracing. So I want to ask you, what does that mean to you now?
Here's an observation: is when people, from my discovery, people are attracted to me when they see the flaws, when they see my fails, and I'm really clear and obvious is the wrong word, so I don't know why I said it. But when I'm clear and transparent with my what's really happening, and I think with many people in this business, and I don't really call myself a coach so much anymore, but at coaching business or personal development or in mentoring, um, there's a tendency to show what's really happening, the good stuff. And I think what people have liked about me in the past, and I've actually been doing market research on this in the last couple of months, of why people have worked with me in the past, because it's interested me for where I'm going in the future. And most of them said, like 80% of people have said, you seem to be having a blast doing it. You're loving what you're doing. You seem to be making a mess, but doing it really well.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be around that because it allowed them to make a mess and fail and things, but still laugh and move through it as well.
Yeah.
So those perfect flaws. Do you know when someone plays an instrument? It's quite a famous example that when someone plays the perfect set, let's say a classical instrument, that they don't, it doesn't feel like the audience can attach themselves or really resonate. And a great musician will hit the odd off note to allow the audience in. So that's, I think I'm the classical musician of the presenting world.
Yeah. Nice. Same, but different. But I used to work in this pub in Alice Springs, right?
Very different.
Very different. Very different. But one of the managers said, like, he used to put a blackboard out the front, and he used to purposely make put a spelling error in the words for that exact reason.
Yes.
For that exact reason. And so I kind of, in my own unique way, completely get where you are coming from.
It allows the audience in.
Yeah. What happens when we give ourselves permission to be flawed and let people in?
The cliche answer would be vulnerability. But it's a different energy when you're holding this. There is no perfection in this world. We live in this world, whatever you choose to or believe it is polarity. You know, the ups and downs, the black and the white. It's the polarity, and unless we see the polarity in people, we can't really resonate. Do you know what I mean? And that, if you take that down a level into an energetic level, that's what's happening. There's no window to let people in. It's you're wearing the mask. The connection disappears. You know what I mean? There's no mingling or mixing of energy. There's you, the mentor, and then the pupil or the audience, instead of people, and one is just happens to be sharing wisdom.
Yeah. How has your journey with, let's say, vulnerability changed from, being that you come from the arts, you come from presenting, so it can be a very superficial world, and this is how you do things, and this is how you speak, and this is how you move your body, and this is the way you have to look, right? So how is that? And now how you're showing up and what you're teaching, it's very different. And it is like, it's, you really are disrupting that pattern into something that's more heartfelt. How has that changed you personally in how you show up?
Oh, I love this question. So what most artists or speakers, and if I'm just going to use the space of presenting because it narrows it down, the craft of presenting. So 99.99% of people believe that there is a way or a way to do this, and there is to be inspiring, to be confident, to not allow the audience to know you're nervous. It's a performance, and which really means there's no authenticity in there. Yeah. So that the beauty of authenticity, and this is, people will say just be you, but what does that mean? And this is what that means for me. There's two layers to that. One is just be you allows you, the person who just wakes up, goes to the car, gets out of the car, goes into the venue, and then there's nothing to do on the side of stage. Yeah. Like there's nothing to do. There's no breathing exercises. There's no jumping jacks. There's nothing to do. It's like you walk on. Yeah. And people go, oh yeah, but don't you want to be in a higher state? And you go, well, what's wrong with me now? Like what's? It means you're just judging. You're placing then that out there as a cliche of what a presenter's meant to look like, and it allows you to be so graceful that when you go out on stage, if I'm present with how I'm feeling in that moment, my audience is going to connect with me on a level way beyond, everyone raise their hands and get up and clap, and it's going to be a feeling out of energy in there. It's completely different. Do you know what I mean? And then that need to be something else is gone. Yeah. But I need to add this, because this is where people can get confused. I believe that when we're on stage or when we're doing anything, what we're really looking for is to share a moment with God. I mean, that's an artist's the bliss moment, isn't it? When God works through you, whatever you want God to be.
Yeah.
But God is only as potent as the tools that you supply it with. So I'm going to use painting this time instead of presenting. If actually, I'm a perfect example. I do a little bit of sketching and things, and my sketches are terrible because I don't have any craft. I don't know how to hold the pencil. I just have these moments where I'm like, God's working through me right now. I have a really clear vision. Let's create it because it's going to be something that I use, but it looks like a 5-year-old's.
Yeah.
And that's because I've never learned anything about sketching since I was a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's great to go out there and be you and authentic, which is the most beautiful feeling, but we still have to have the highest level of craft. And craft is when you've got so many tools that they're so bone deep in you, they're automatic, which means that when you go out on stage, then these tools are working automatically for you. And so you're not in your head, you can operate from that heart brain, that level of consciousness. That was a really detailed answer to your question, but I think I nailed it.
You did. Absolutely, you did. You always do. And this is why I always love chatting to you. When you were speaking, and I don't mean any disrespect because his events are incredible just to be a part of, but, I'm thinking about Tony Robbins and, how he primes the audience, so they use clapping vigorously, they use music, they use sound, and Tony Robbins does, and he'll talk about creating that peak state of performance, and he has his gestures, he has his stuff that he does to be able to cultivate this energy. Yeah. But what I love about what you're saying is you've got your craft and you've honed it in. And what if you're just still? Like, why do I have to change who I am in this moment? Tell me what happens in this extraordinary transmission of when we allow ourselves to be who we are in that moment, leaning on this well-crafted toolbox of whatever it is. What kind of presentation, what kind of painting is this?
Do you know, it's a redefining of what world-class presenting looks like. So it's not just playing the game, it's changing the way the game's played.
Yeah.
And that's only something I've really stepped into since last year. It's like 2020. I was asking myself, going through the normal questions of why not me? Why not me? I have a really clear way of seeing things, and it's not that I see it as being better than, let's say, Tony Robbins or the standard way of inspiring and music and getting one into a peak state. Yeah. It's just that there's that way, which is very technical. Yeah. But I just see another way, that perhaps there's another way that beyond that. So let's say a speaker's been speaking for 40 years, that I can take that 40 years of experience and just allow them to see a more spiritual experience on stage, where storytelling is you going, this happened to me, right? Whereas the heart brain is, this is happening through me. And if it's happening through you, the audience is experiencing something in the moment that is energetic and potent. Now, storytelling is, it's, my American clients tend to look at me like I'm losing my shit when I say, oh no, I don't like stories. And they go, because most people go, well, what's my story? I need to know my story. And I just go, why would you waste your time? Why would you waste your time telling me about something that's happened in your life that now is going to be your narrative that you hang your hat on, when if you allow me to see you and take the time and the space between the words, instead of using superfluous words, let the words work through you, so at least they're potent in what you really want to say. If you're there, really there, I'll feel you. I will know everything about you, not the finer details, but I will know whether I like you and trust you, I'll see you and I'll resonate with you, and I'll hang off every word that you've got. And I'll leave for some reason feeling like that was the only person I saw today. It's a whole different trip. It's a completely different trip, and it's a redefining of what world-class presenting looks like. And that's what gets me out of bed right now is going, holy shit, this is a big goal. Like, infiltrating. And I've been working at a group of speakers who are Tony Robbins speakers. They often assist them or speak with them on stage. And when I started with them last year, Renee, I could hear my voice cracking when I was trying to explain this different way, because I'm like, God, these guys are at the top of the top. And here's me sitting in my COVID enforced space in Gold Coast, Australia, a little boy from a school of 8. And my dad was the teacher. And here I am telling them that there's actually another way beyond where you've been, even though you've been doing this for 40 years, there's another way that I'm not saying it's better, but I think you might want to try it. And now I'm getting more confidence in that space and going, really trusting it and going, if I keep doing this and am able to get out of Australia at some stage, I will be able to leave a mark on the way that people speak and present.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how, and I think we've probably had this conversation before, is I've done this is what I want to say, and this is how you do the intro, and this is how, this is what I want to say here, and this is where I'm just going to inject this story of my life right here, and this is where I'm going to build my credibility, and this is like, it's all formatted, right? And it's all it's the architecture of it is for a very particular outcome that you want. And that is, I want them to buy my product, right? And then I moved into this feeling of like, what if we didn't have to lead them to pain? What if we didn't have to inject fear into them? And what if I could just take them away to this place of isness, right? And it's the funniest thing happened when I started to do this is people would hear me speak and they would say, you're not a speaker, you are a performer. But it was the least performance, it was the least performative keynote or presentation that I've ever delivered. What is that about?
I was just thinking that of when seeing you speak, we spoke about this before. You have a level of skills that you have, which have now become craft. Craft being automatic and enough tools for, enough tools to paint with. And then when you have those moments, and let's be clear, you don't have a moment or share that moment with God the entire time you do a keynote. You're not. You're in and out of this.
Yeah.
But you have, when that's happening, there's different things happening. And I've seen you speak with a rhythm, you speak with a beat sometimes, and that's exactly what I can relate to. Is when I'm on stage and I can get into a rhythm when I'm speaking, and there's a beat, an imaginary beat that starts happening, and this is when I start knowing that this is flowing through me now. I relax, get out of my head, let the inner critic dissipate, let that heartburn take over, and I think that's what happens to you is. You're being authentic, but you're allowing a creative force to work through you. And so people always go, yeah, but what if you're boring? And you go, well, but are you boring?
Yeah.
Because, if you're an aspiring person, you don't need to go on stage and inspire people then, because you're automatically, it's the last thing you want to do because you're forcing it.
Yeah.
If you're a really boring person, like you truly are boring, yes, you're going to be boring on stage if you're taking your true authentic self. But that can change if you get out of your way and something works through you. You might discover that I don't know, your hands move more, or you speak with more color and more texture with a beat. It feels to me that that's what's from when I've seen you, and it feels like way too long since I've seen you in person and work.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you said pain and low frequency, and a conscious decision last year was I won't work with people who want to work with pain points. I feel like pain points are a low frequency, and it is traditional marketing. I'm done with traditional marketing. And if my idea of this of a world, the only thing I can really be is be the change. You know who's that Mahatma Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
You know, be the change you want to see in the world, something like that. And so I go, then get rid of that low frequency marketing. Get rid of the any of that stuff that does that. And when you work in that heart brain, you're each time you speak, this is what I call a spiritual experience. You're discovering a layer. You keep finding layers underneath what you've been speaking about, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until you have this sense of absolute bone deep confidence that no one in the world speaks on what I do, and no one in the world can articulate this in the way that I do. So whenever you end up going, whenever you walk on stage, it's like you like, I got this. No one would have heard this before. I'm about to teach you something that you've never probably even thought of or had it articulated it to this way. Those are the things I just wrote down from what you were saying.
That's beautiful. And I think that's, that's so alive in that. And that's really, I think, I don't know, like what comes up for me is, you spoke about the inner critic, and when you're sharing from this place of absolute, that truth and vulnerability, and you're taking the masks off, and you do feel hugely exposed and vulnerable. So there's those little pockets of time where the inner critic can seep in and go, oh my goodness, like I'm sharing this stage with all of these amazing people. Like, who am I to like teach this? And, and no matter how far we are on this journey, we have that. But then I just kind of had this little drop in of then that's the dance then really between, and I said in your intro about your inner rebel, and is that just the flip side of the same coin?
I don't know. I don't know. I just, what's the question?
I don't know.
What's the
question? Just the dance between the inner critic and the rebel, because I feel like people, whether they're presenting or whether it's whatever it is, how they're showing up to life, like, what is that dance and why does it matter?
Do you know what that dance or dance in Australian? Anything that comes, this is the trust, anything that comes from the heart brain, and I'm just talking about a consciousness, the heart brain is 60,000 times more powerful than the brain. And yet most speakers are operating from a technical standpoint of the brain. Where do I stand? What do I do with my hands? What's my opening line? And honestly, no one gives a shit when you move past that. It's the heart brain. Anything that comes from there, you can fully trust it's your gift. It's been given to you as a gift. And sometimes it can be a word or a sentence or a whole idea. But your job when you've been given that gift is to investigate further. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Time and space was given to me September 2019. And it was space and time. And it just came so clearly. I wrote it down. I always write these things down. I've got bits of butcher's paper all over my wall of words that have come from my heart brain, and I don't know what half them mean. My job is to investigate them and do lives on them and articulate them in my own time. Then I was going, what the hell is space and time? What the hell is space and time? What is space and time presenting? And then it became time and space. And I was like, oh my God, it's the time and the space between the words is as potent as the words themselves. And then that became like the biggest step of my methodology. And I was like, my God, this is opening a whole galaxy to me here, like a whole other paradigm of what I teach. And I know I've strayed off topic, but I like time and space. When you stand on stage, and 10 seconds can feel like a long time, but if you can hold that with a sense of presence, and you're allowed to be uncomfortable, and then you'll get comfortable, and maybe uncomfortable again, and then comfortable, and then maybe nervous, and then it might get you will feel so many different things through that 10 seconds. And if you do this on a live, if you do it on stage and a live, and you can ask anyone in the audience, how many things did you feel in that last 10 seconds? They will rattle off like at least 3 to 5 different feelings. And it can be anything from being weirdly turned on by it because there's an intimate presence of people. And you just really don't get that range of emotion and feelings from speaking. So what happens in that space between the words is as potent as the words themselves. And it allows you time to explore in between the words of what do I actually want to say from the feeling that is happening in me today. So, and if you block that feeling by trying to imitate Anthony Robbins by not being you, or if you're imitating, if you block that feeling, you won't be able to access that gift you're going to be given today, right? And if you don't listen, the feeling doesn't speak English. The feeling doesn't speak Spanish. It doesn't speak a language, whatever this is. And I don't know what it is, and nobody in the world has ever figured it out what we actually are, which I find amazing. Let's just call it the essence of who we are. It doesn't have a language. It came from whatever. And our job is to allow ourselves, or to get good enough in our craft and in our presence to interpret, what is this feeling? What do I need? What's the external manifestation vocalized of this feeling? And so when you cut that off by performing, when you cut it off, you're just speaking from your head. It's like, what do I remember? What do I remember? What am I meant to say here, instead of what's meant to be said here? What's here for me to articulate? What don't I know that I actually know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that
was pretty deep, Renee.
It was. I like it. That's right. I like it deep, Andrew.
So nervously sip on my water.
Have a swig. Is what I like about that is a couple of things, right? Is because what speaks to me is our need to fill the void, our need to fill the silence. Like we have this natural kind of uncomfortable feeling of stillness and silence. But what you spoke to just then is what I really loved, is not only does it give us a chance to just be turned on in that moment and listen, but also as well is for the other people around us or in the audience or whoever, it gives them time and space to go on their own necessary journey.
That's it. Yep.
In that, which is so important, and it's so easy to miss that. So I think it's such an important piece.
That's it. The trouble with the words public speaking is this word speaking is misleading. and I understand that you can't call ourselves public feelers, but the idea of having to speak to fill the void is there's just as much happening in that silence, and that silence allows you to speak with more potency, and that potency, if that's coming from the heart brain, that those words match the frequency of your greatness. They're potent, they have more weight to them, they're just different, they feel different. There's a poetic feel to them often when they leave your lips.
Yeah, absolutely. At one of my jams, one of my all-time favorite transmissions was, like it was us as a speaker delivering something off the cuff of an audience question. So it was completely improvised, as you know. But one of my favorite answers was by a beautiful human called Lindsay Stillwell. Is she danced? She just did movement, and she answered the question stunningly. Like, it was beautiful because it was a felt experience.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's, what? I've been redoing my website. Who I'm working with and what I'm doing is just changing, and I'm redoing my website, and I was stuck on my About Me section for so long. And when I talk about long, I mean like 2 months stuck on About Me. And I'm like, how hard is this, dude? Just write it about you. Like, tell people what they want to, what you want them to hear. And I realized that I was trying to follow the way that About Me was done. I was playing the game instead of redefine the way the game is played. And I went, well, what's another way? What resonates with me? And I was like, make a piece of music, like hire someone, a composer, to create a piece of music that is the sound of the space between the words. And that'll be your About Me section. And of course, and then I pulled over the car because one of those moments you're like, oh my God, I need to pull over now and just like bask in how smart I am. When you're like, oh my God, of course, why haven't I thought of this already? Why am I trying to copy people and getting stuck? It's like, you don't copy, dude. You lead, you don't copy. Make a piece of music. That's what sings to you. And then that'll get people to look through the website. In theory.
Yeah, I love that. And it's full permission to just to be, which is so beautiful. And that's something that you do so beautifully, Egg, is your level of creativity to create something absolutely unique and completely like left field. Like, I know a couple of years ago you were telling me about how you wanted to create an event, a workshop that mimicked like a game show. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
And
yes,
so,
yes.
So all of these and really that is really what you're doing now. And from what I've seen is that you're creating this unique experience, and you're really bringing in layers of that experience of different frequencies, of different sounds, of, you're really kind of navigating this new space of that time and space that is coming through. So I want to ask you about how that has changed, what kind of texture, what kind of dimension is your clients really experiencing now. And I'm kind of reminded of something that a performing arts teacher said to me like many years ago is, is most people focus on, when you're acting, you're focusing on the lines. However, the most important pieces are not when you're acting, but when you're reacting. So what am I doing when the other person is speaking these lines? And that's really like, for me, you're flipping everything on its head. So I want to just, share that more.
this is what I was scribbling down when you were writing this, is, and I'm not sure if it answers your question, but you could always repeat the question after I've told you. We live in I went on a creative workshop by myself down to Byron Bay, would have been 3 months ago. And what I realized, I didn't get as much work as I expected done, that we live in an age of information. And you can tap into, we have Clubhouse, we have Facebook, we have the LinkedIn's, you name it.
Yeah.
And people are consuming. And they're consuming information by so-called self-proclaimed experts, and then consuming the same information and then calling themselves experts. But the only way to create change is through change. So all this information that is being fed through the channels and then taken on board and then copied and regurgitated, right, is not creating change, it's creating more. So the only way to create change is if it has to come from the heart brain. It has to come from creativity.
Yeah.
Only creativity will create change. And so my job is not to say, do it this way. This is what's changed in my work, is I'm not here anymore to give systems and processes. I use that to a degree to bring about your own change, but my job is to extract from you and tap you into the feeling. And speaking, speaking's my tool. That's all it is. It's just a tool. Yeah. Speaking is the tool for you to find, and then once you've got that feeling or that vision, to create an external manifestation of that, which is change. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part, because there's no fucking guarantees that what's in your head. One, you've got to find often people to help bring that vision. And I'm doing this at the moment, right? Just finding the people to bring my vision of my website, something really basic. Here's my website. And going through a string of, what's the word I'm looking for? Designers and musicians and, just all the people that I need, going through a string of them, and animators, going, you can't execute the vision to the level that I need it to be. And unless it's here, it's half realized and it won't have the potency. But you get used to trusting. Once you've discovered it, you're like, now my job is to bring this into the world as at the level of which I can see it. And if you do that, it becomes, you have a business that is completely unique to you. And all of a sudden you have no competitors, because no one's competing with you, right? No one's speaking the same way as you. No one's got the same unique perspective. No one's thought or felt this. And you all of a sudden you move into a place of peerlessness, but you also you're basically creating a whole new paradigm. And it's a new paradigm where people aren't looking for you. They all of a sudden find you and go, oh, of course, I want this. And their thought process is kind of like, it's as though the world needed this right now. Do you know what I mean? It's that creative experiences. Of course, this is exactly what the world needed right now. And instead of another person regurgitating stuff. Yeah. Stuff was my polite version.
I love that, because what I see that you're doing, and that's like, I guess, like that disruptor piece in your egg, is that person who goes, you know what, like, you're eliminating the hierarchy, that guru status, that pedestal status, and you speak about becoming world class, but it's actually from this place of absolute benevolence and uniqueness.
What's benevolence?
Benevolence. So it's something that is, so I say it all the time in the terms of what we do, is that something that's of the highest good for all people. So it's not about personal gain or personal agenda.
Yeah.
It's about having absolute reverence and trust for
Yep.
all people.
Yep. I
And
love
I
it.
see, and I see that as such a big part of what you're doing. And because often you can hear world class and it can be like, I got to be like better than other people. And it's like, you're creating this little pocket of people that are better than, but you're really just bringing something really beautiful to, and just, I don't know, the word sovereign just keeps on coming to me. It's just that, that sovereignty for all people. And it's so beautiful. I just wanted to acknowledge that and honor that in you in that moment.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I love that. And I learned a new word. Um, it's allowing people to create their own paradigm. And that's really scary for people when you've grown up or come through the pathway of being taught and copying. When you really step into what is yours, was always yours. And I always believe, like, if it's the heart brain, it's yours. Like, own that.
Yes.
If those words or sentences came through, or that creative idea, like, own it. Like, I'm working on a project right now that it seems so far beyond me that sometimes I get stuck and feel like hiding under my duvet cover for like weeks and months on end, and because I have no idea of how to do it, right? And it's not even in a space that I even understand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's but the idea, the feeling that it creates, the how I just have to figure out as I go. But how it looks is super clear, and of course, because it came from here, there's this sense of bone deep trust. Um, yeah, and again, it's a whole new paradigm. It's something. Although I will share this. I had a dream on Saturday night, and in my dream, I saw this happening, and it was like I got sucked through a tunnel, and I was there. And I was really pissed off because I was like, my God, someone beat me to it. Someone stole my idea. And then I woke up. I was like, oh, that was me. That was my dream. No one's done it yet. However, I have had this nagging feeling of, if was I tapping into someone else's dream and someone else is trying to beat me to the punch. So I have, yeah. Confused on many levels right now.
Maybe, although I was just saying to my apprentices before meeting up with you, as we're talking about dreams and how they're symbolic and everything, and that's what it is, right? And that's when the heart brain speaks, is often it is in symbols. And and as you were saying earlier, is that because it doesn't know language, it's beyond language. It's beyond cultures, it's beyond religion, it's beyond all things. So
I love it. I love it. I've been explaining this to the people I work with a lot of late, of when they get stuck in between lines, like stuck to rules and lines, and going, who you really are, who you really are. You remove this skin and this shit around you. Everything that's been given to you is not yours. It was not there, and it was not theirs to give to you. And I'm talking about taxes and currencies and governments, and this is all stuff that has been created by some things, people, as rules that the essence of you has no idea about. It's not restricted by these things. So we live in this, there's you, the real you, the essence of you, that has its whole different thing going on, and none of that other stuff matters. It is only this, what we are now, this form, that complies by these things that we probably never agreed to. I never agreed to fucking any of them. That I don't agree to, but I do, because it's no different than the bloody kings and queens of the Dark Ages riding, in the castles, and then sending the horsemen in and collecting taxes, and if you don't, you lose an arm. Now it's just different. Same stuff.
Yeah.
But this doesn't understand that. And so when we try to work within rules and they're not working for us, you have to really, really ask yourself, yeah, but what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want? What do I want? I was writing my manifesto for my website, and again, this took me 5 weeks, like a manifesto, like a
Yeah.
5 paragraphs, because my manifesto kept complying or moving towards what I have seen or heard or been told to write, and I had to, all my ego was telling me, you want this. And I had to keep going back to, no, what do I want?
Yeah.
What is this interpretation of what I'm feeling now? So coming back to, I don't know why we point here, must be here. What does this actually want?
Yeah.
Not from my past experiences.
Yeah.
From my past.
Absolutely.
It was a really challenging and intimidating thing to write. But that's where I started to really get the, dude, redefine what world class looks like. Stop thinking small. Stop playing small because you come from a school of 8 people. Like, get out of your way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so common. It's like, we're constantly in our way, and and that's when you speak, it's, I say in my work all the time, I talk about, just thinking about who we were before we become a byproduct of our life experiences. Who were we then? And that really is that exploration. And what we think we want is not really what we want, so.
I love that. That's like the epiphany of 2021 for me.
Yeah.
What I think I want is completely irrelevant. What do I want? What do I really want? And then when you go after that, it's true. You know what I mean by it's true? It's I can't screw this up.
Yeah.
Will it be easy? Will it be as, I wrote this down this morning. How easy am I willing to allow this to be? How easy am I with that? Because the more I get out of my way, the easier it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I was saying in a masterclass yesterday, I was saying most of our pain is us just trying to pry ourselves out of our personality, out of who we really are, because we feel like we have to be someone else to go achieve this thing, to be worthy of this thing, to attract and call in this thing, which is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's something that I see you do. And that's why, I just have so much reverence for what you're doing, is because what I see you doing is you are, you're really disrupting and dismantling that scale of consciousness, and how we're showing up. So we're using that thing where, you're using it in the terms of like, you're changing how we play the game, so you're not interested in playing the game, in the, as a third level priestess, we would say that's trying to, instead of trying to play God, be God, and that's, and just, you're removing what it actually means, what we think it means to be in pain or to be happy or to be sad. And what if we just give ourselves full permission to be that?
Yeah, there was the judgment of, the judgment of feeling sad or a little bit melancholic, and you go, okay, I'm not in a good mood today. But then of course it's like, well, who says that's not a good mood?
Yeah.
Why is this different than when you're, I mean, most of my good ideas come from when I'm feeling melancholic.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling in a deep kind of introspective, that's when I get my great ideas. When I'm happy and excitable, then I'm actually just my that's when I tend to execute things and go for it, and I'm goofing off and being silly and enjoying the ideas I've created.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. And just like that little pocket right there is like, when you're happy and feeling joy, that's when you're executing. You don't really create. And just pondering that now for myself, I'm like, do I really create when I'm happy and joyful and going? No, because you're like doing the thing. You're enjoying it. You're
You're
doing.
enjoying the thing you created. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool. I love that.
It's funny. I mean, if I go back to 2019, when, well, the last time I probably properly worked, if we were, when you put things into this world perspective right now, um, it's funny. I look at 2020 as a bloody nightmare, but
Mm,
in many ways.
yeah.
But if I had continued on my journey of 2019, would I have uncovered what I'm doing right now? Because I would have just kept riding that high. Do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, flying around the world and doing retreats and events and pinching myself that I was getting away with it.
Yeah.
I was extremely busy, and there wasn't a lot of time in there to sink into, but what's next? Because there was always, but I got tickets to sell, and I've got this to do, and then I've got this to plan, and I better get my keynote ready. And now there's been this, resisted it for most
Mm,
of last year
yeah.
until I really resisted it,
Yeah.
um, because I was holding on to that perceived idea of success.
Yeah.
Success. Who am I now? And this happened to me in TV and film too.
Mm,
Who am I now if I'm not that person?
yeah.
And then at the big end of last year was the, what am I doing? Like, let everything go. Let everything
Yeah.
go. Let everything fall away. Let everything fall away. And I think this is why I've written myself this post-it note. How easy am I willing to allow this to be? Let the people fall away. Let the clients fall away that aren't resonating with the way your shift to now. Don't let these things hold you where you were. Step into this new space and create from here. And my word for 2021 was integrity.
Yeah.
I refuse to create my future moving forward out of integrity.
Yeah.
Everything, everything, not just on stage, which is perhaps what I've been partly guilty of in the past.
Mm,
Like, I've talked about authenticity, right? But
yeah.
there's parts of my life that were out of
Yeah.
integrity. And now, and when you go to that full integrity, there's a lot of shit that falls apart.
Yeah.
A lot of shit that falls apart.
Yeah.
But if you rebuild in integrity, there's nothing to fall over.
Exactly.
And what I've discovered is that being really honest, some people can't handle it and they fall away.
Yeah.
But the people that handle it are really, really special people.
Yeah.
And being able to ask a question, and me being able to give an answer that is to the point and honest, and receiving that energy of going, wow, we're going to have a relationship where no one lies.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The business that you create is going to be only your truth, only in integrity. The people that you're going to work with are either going to learn how to live in integrity, or they're going to drop off. They're going to come in and disappear. And anyone who works in that place of integrity will end up creating a business, a life, a speaking business, or whatever they're doing that is their own paradigm, create their own paradigm. It's something that you wake up in the morning and go, holy shit, I'm not forced to do anything. This is actually what my soul wanted from me. This
Yeah.
is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what could be more honoring than that, right? Mm,
I don't know. I
pretty
don't know. I'm
awesome.
not going to tell. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy journey, but
No.
one that. But when your heart knows,
Yeah.
when your heart knows, it's just yeah, following that heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's, when we get to that point, that is a beautiful point to get to, is that, knowing that, and I feel like, so often in, this industry is we can prop ourselves up in order to hover above it, and we go, you know what, like, life can be filled with pinch me moments, and I'm riding this fast train to success, and I'm feeling amazing, but you can't avoid life. You can't hover above life. Like, pain is inevitable. It is a part of life, but it can be easy, and that's something that, like, that we really play with, is how can we bring pleasure into these painful moments? Because as soon as we bring play into it, we bring pleasure into it. And even when it's painful, so because we move beyond all that mind of that perception of how we think things have to feel and be, and we move into a state that's just pure ecstasy, because we're just beyond all the labels. And that's, and I think that's important. That's an important part to be in integrity. And it can be really fucking hard to do that.
Yep.
Takes some big ass kahunas to make those big decisions sometimes.
Yeah. Do you know what? This tattoo of joy on the back of my arm was meant to be play. And I was in Bali, and I went into a tattoo studio with, literally, I took in this tattoo. This is somebody else's tattoo. I just wanted the font.
Yeah.
And I sat there for 2.5 hours while these two, in hindsight, I should have just got to the tattoo place. But for 2.5 hours, until in the end, I just went, oh, for God's sakes, just put joy on my arm, just copy that tattoo. And I walked out, and now it's one of my favorite tattoos. I'm like, oh, but one day I'm going to bump into this. It was a woman's arm.
Yeah.
I believe, unless a man had a very feminine arm. It was a woman's arm on Pinterest. Someday I'm going to bump into this person. I might have this, oh my God, you've got my tattoo. Who got it first?
I love it. Egg, we have to wrap up, but I have one more question before we wrap up. And that is, what is turning you on right now?
Nurturing. Yep, nurturing. Yeah. Less forcing and nurturing.
Beautiful. I love it. Egg, thank you so much for coming on the show. It is so cool to hang out with you again, and it feels like it's been ages, and I just love our conversations. Yeah. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for how you show up in the world. I am stoked to hear your word is integrity, because I know that incredible things just come from that birthplace. So thank you for being you and all that you offer this world. I hold you with absolute love and reverence, and just love you to bits.
Thank you too. Thank you, Renee. Love you too. Nice chat.
Was a nice chat. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'll put all Egg's details in the show notes, and you can follow up on his About Me page and journey in between time and space, because now I'm curious. I need to go check it out. But all your details will be in the show notes. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be back next week. Bye.